He's only seeking mercy for a merciless act. He is not saying, I'm sorry, मेरे से गलती हो गई, मुझे क्षमा कर दो, मैं अब बाकी की जिंदगी जिंदा जेल में बिताने को, इनकी रोटियां बनाने को तैयार हूं, मुझे माफ कर दो, मैं गलत रास्ते में. Is there one word of regret or apology? Nothing. So imagine if this had been brought down, it would have been as if the government has surrendered to some pressure or the other. So I think instead of saying this way that what has happened, what is the impact, I think there's a large deterrence. It's not, I would say Indian civilization doesn't take revenge. It is deterrence. There's a larger message of the effectiveness of the rule of law. And I liked what Justice Dave said today, it is published in Times of India. He said, if a judge doesn't award appropriate punishment to a sinner, he is equally guilty of breaching the Raj Dharma.
No, hold on.
What has done today, what has been done is...
Raj Dharma, is this... I'm going to raise a very critical point with you and others. Is this Raj Dharma in this country that 900 people die in the riots of Mumbai in 1993, 92-93? Ujjwal Nikam knows this. And there is no conviction of in a major case, that not a single person dies in a major case. Nalin Kohli, what kind of Raj Dharma is this? That in a riot, nobody gets the death penalty. And in a bomb blast, and the Sri Krishna Commission makes it very clear, Nalin Kohli and Ujjwal Nikam, that the riots were the reason for the blasts of Mumbai. So when Kiran Bedi says it's the Raj Dharma of the judge to give death penalty to Yakub Memon, maybe she is right. But isn't it the Raj Dharma also to give those responsible for the riots of 92-93 that led to the blast, Nalin Kohli, Ujjwal Nikam? Nalin, you first.
Well, first, if you want to get back to the riots history of India, we can start in 47.
No, I'm not starting. I'm talking of 92-93 riots led to the blast. Nalin Kohli, let's not... Please do not deflect the issue. I am asking you, 900 people died in the riots. Should they not also get the death penalty?
What happened, Mr. Sardesai? My answer, if you don't like, and you are passionate about an issue, you'll still have to hear me. Because I'm entitled to my answers, you're entitled to your view or your question.
Yes.
So let's go back to the top. I said, if you wish to discuss on riots, we can start on 47. There are many people who have been looking for closure for decades after that. 84, 67 in Gujarat, and as you have come to 92, 93. There's also Bhagalpur, there's also Nelli, there are many. So therefore, if you're looking at it as crime versus crime in a way, then I think you need to compare two cases with identical things. Now, 92, 93 are not, to the best of my knowledge so far, terrorist attacks. This was a terrorist attack, definitely.
So you're saying death penalty for terrorist attack, no death penalty for riots?
I didn't say that. You are trying to put words in my mouth.
You said it just now.
No, I didn't say so. I was answering and pointing you further. You'll have to compare two cases with exact facts. That's what I said, and I pointed out that was not a terrorist attack. Second point I made. My final point on this is, everything finally comes before the Supreme Court. And there are judgments that may seem to be evolving. There may be judgments that may point out there is a nuance. But everywhere, everything is looked at. It doesn't run just because you, me, anyone else. Law will run by what is the text, what is the spirit behind that text, what the judges feel there, given the circumstances and the facts. And finally, convictions happen on hard evidence.
Okay,
if it is by mind and heart, then I'm sorry, we don't need the courts. We need kangaroo courts.
I will come to the hard evidence to Shantanu Sen, former CBI Joint Director, in a moment. But Ujjwal Nikam, I just want one word from you on that. Because this is a question that has troubled many people who believe that you must have equivalence in the law. If the riots of 92-93 led to the blast where today the prime conspirator, one of the prime conspirators, is being given the death penalty tomorrow morning, then what about the 900 people? What about their families? Should they also not call for closure? Should they also not demand the death penalty, Ujjwal Nikam?
He and his brother eloquently do say a few things that are shocking.
No, let Ujjwal Nikam respond. Yes, Mr. Nikam.
On the Rajdeep, each case depends upon its own facts. This is first thing. We have to make a distinction between riot offender as well as an offender under the Terror Act. But I do agree with you for simple reason that whosoever offender in any case who has committed any offense, he must be punished. Now the question of sentence is the discretion of the court, and the court award the sentence about after considering the enormity of the crime, magnitude of the crime, and whether it was a previous planning, whether incident had occurred on the spur of the moment. There are so many other factors which
Sir,
weigh the court while considering.
No, I take your point, sir. My only
so
point
you can't
is,
say that even.
sir, the
you
grief.
Can't say,
Mudwalji, and I want to bring in Vishwajit Bhattacharya. The grief of a riot victim in Mumbai 92-93 is no different from a grief of a blast victim. The fact is, today the blast victims are telling me on this program that they feel that they will get a sense of closure. They believe that Yakub Memon must get the death penalty. I want to know, if the riot victims tomorrow turned around to you and said, what about us? What would your answer be to them?
You see, the victim is a victim and a person who commits crime is a crime. Today we are debating the entire issue for the simple reason that capital punishment exists in the Indian Penal Code. If capital punishment did not exist, there would not be any debate whatsoever. So Rajdeep, in answer to your question directly, I agree with you. If the ingredients of the Indian Penal Code or TADA, etc. are satisfied, the law must take its own course. But at the same time, all these, I mean, if I may say so, civil society and all the well-meaning persons who are making representations and raising all kinds of hue and cry, if instead of raising hue and cry, if they had directed their hue and cry to the members of parliament and stated that do not keep capital punishment in the statute book, today everything will be over.
No, hold on. I am raising a question. There is death penalty in this country on the statute books.
Correct.
There is a case of Dara Singh, for example, in the Graham Staines murder, correct, where he killed a Christian priest and his son.
Correct.
Dara Singh's death penalty gets commuted.
Correct.
There is no hue and cry.
Correct.
If, God forbid, or if it turns out that Yakub's death penalty was to have been commuted either by the Supreme Court or by President Pranab Mukherjee, would there not have been a hue and cry? Let's be clear. There should be equal rules for all or not.
Absolutely.
Or are you saying that terror attacks are different?
No, absolutely not.
No, you seem to be suggesting somehow that as long as there is death penalty on the statute books,
it's
civil society activists cannot protest.
Rajdeep, that is not what I said. I said that as long as there is a death penalty in the statute book and the judiciary in its own wisdom comes to the conclusion that there is adequate evidence to award somebody a punishment, however unfortunate the punishment may be, the law of the land has to take its own course. We cannot have the entire aspect.
The law of this land doesn't take its own course in the case of riots. It did not take its own course in the case of a Dara Singh.
It should.
But it doesn't.
No, so therefore,
it doesn't.
Two wrong.
Sir, there have been only 3 executions in the last 10 years.
Correct.
Afzal Guru, Ajmal Kasab, and possibly and the case of Dhananjay in Kolkata.
Correct.
Tomorrow we will have a 4th. Are you telling me that there are no more cases in this country that deserve the death penalty?
No, Rajdeep, I entirely agree with you. What I am saying, 2 wrongs don't make 1 right. So therefore, my submission before you is that if at all some issue has to be raised, a greater issue of a capital punishment, whether it being in the statute book or not, that should be raised before the members of parliament.
That will be a separate debate whether this country deserves a death penalty. But let me come to the evidence point to Shantanu Sen, who's been waiting patiently. Mr. Sen, you were the person who investigated this case. Let us be clear. In a case of a bomb blast, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that before you hand over the death penalty. Do you believe that it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt in your professional judgment that Yakub Memon was a prime conspirator? Or is it, as writers like Hussain Zaidi and others have suggested in their book Black Friday, he was not aware, it was Tiger Memon who plotted it? Yakub was, in a sense, dare I say it, was lulled into it. Mr. Sen.
The evidence speaks differently.
When you say the evidence speaks differently, are you saying there is conclusive evidence that Yakub Memon knew the entire gamut of the conspiracy?
Yes.
And what is this evidence? Therefore, how do I look at what Mr. B. Raman said? Is Mr. B. Raman only making a case for the surrender or the so-called willingness of Yakub to share information once he was arrested? Between 92 and 94, you are saying that Yakub Memon was aware of the exact dimensions of what he had done.
Yes.
And was that only in terms of financing the operation, or was he aware exactly what kind of an operation was going to be undertaken by Tiger Memon and the planters of the bombs?
He was aware of the financing. He was aware of the bombs coming in. He was aware of the bombs being packed in Alaswani building and sent to the places. He was aware of the... In fact, some of the planters did not know they were carrying bombs. I have good evidence to believe that, and I'm happy that the Supreme Court has not given them death sentence. But about Yakub Memon knowing that the planting of bombs will cause havoc, one bomb alone killed 123 persons, I have no doubt. He and his brothers, who have been convicted, had full knowledge. Supreme Court has examined the case against his brothers. After all, as many as 3 have been acquitted. Against 2, the case is abated. Others who came in and were arrested by us have also not been tried and convicted. So therefore, only those who had a role to play in the entire crime and who thereafter ran away from this country and remained outside the country for more than a year and a half, nearly a year and a half, were guilty, and those who were not guilty among them were very unhappy in Pakistan. And Yakub Memon decided to come back and take his chance with the law. So he wanted to get himself tried by the Indian legal system. Not himself alone, his brothers, his parents, and he succeeded in getting acquittal of a few of them.
And you believe therefore Yakub Memon cannot claim that the Indian legal system has discriminated against him. Ujjwal Nikam, are you very clear about that? That because you've tracked this case from day one, Yakub Memon cannot turn around today and tell the country, or the likes of Asauddin Owaisi, who have been backing Yakub Memon, cannot turn around and tell the country that Yakub has not got justice. In your view, Yakub has got every opportunity to present his case to the court. Am I correct?
Absolutely, you are right, Rajdeep, because Yakub had engaged an eminent lawyer. He got every opportunity to cross-examine almost all our witnesses. Not only that, Yakub did not give any confession. Our investigator had never tried to extract his confession also. Normally it is alleged that on account of the pressure and ill treatment, but CBI has not shown any pressure upon him, otherwise he would have been given the confession also. This I would like to give this is a simple test that about how the trial was fair and how the investigators were fair in even not extracting any sort of confession. This is first fact. Second important fact is that Yakub did not adduce any evidence nor had stated on oath in the court that he was compelled or there was surrender or there was some deal. Absolutely no story was ever put forth by Yakub.
At no stage did Yakub inform the court that he had surrendered or that he had had some kind of a deal with the authorities as a result of which he had come back. There was no plea bargain here or no plea bargain like situation. Am I correct, Mr. Nikam?
Of course, you are correct, Raji, but only one thing is that Yakub had only made one indirect reference when he was examined by the court under section 313 of the CRPC that he was surrender. But he never made, and he was not surrender. He made a statement that he was surrender, and that was the only statement he has made in the court. But besides that single statement, of course, that cannot be treated as an evidence in the eyes of law. Besides that statement, he has never produced any document showing any sort of alleged deal between the investigating agency or him, or any sort of evidence he has ever not adduced.
Before I take a break, I want to, Sambit Patra of the BJP is joining us as we continue with our rolling coverage. Sambit Patra, am I to understand that the government of the day has made Yakub Memon a test case? That you want to show the strong state?
No, I would draw this in some inference.
A very controversial article has been written by Hussain Zaidi, who says that whether it was Narasimha Rao's government in 93-94 or today your government, any Memon will do. You can't get Tiger, you can't get Daud, let's get Yakub, is what he seems to suggest. How do you respond to someone saying that?
No, I would have drawn the same inference had the corollary that the Supreme Court functions in the direction, under the direction of the government would have been true, but the Supreme Court does not function under the direction of the government. So to say so is a blasphemy in itself. And as far as this ongoing debate is concerned, with all due respect to the various panelists that I have been debating and the anchors as well that I have been debating with since 3 or 4 days on Yakub Memon's case, I would say that these 20 minutes debates serve no purpose. For 20 long years, various courts of India have debated the issue and a finality has been reached today. So whatever our wisdom may be for these 20 minutes or 15 minutes is going to be lesser than the collective wisdom of the judicial process of India.
Okay, I think that's a good way on which to take my break, because I think it's an interesting way that you put it. Vishwajit Bhattacharya also suggesting the same thing, that when the courts of this country over the last 21 years, some would say too long, 21 years of a tortuous legal process have reached the stage where Yakub Memon has been handed over the death penalty by a 3-judge Supreme Court bench, where the President of India has rejected his mercy pleas, as has the Maharashtra governor, then can Yakub Memon claim that he has not got justice from the Indian system? Or has this actually been a moment where the Indian justice system has given Yakub enough opportunity to present his case? We'll take a tiny break and come back with much more, many more questions to ask. We'll also find out what's happening on the ground in Mumbai and Nagpur. Remember, Nagpur is where Yakub is to hang tomorrow if the president decides to reject his mercy plea. Made it very clear they believe there is no reason to uphold the mercy plea of Yakub Memon. They would like the president to reject it as soon as possible. Remember, arrangements have begun at Nagpur Central Jail, where Yakub Memon is to be given the death penalty tomorrow. Prison sources telling India Today that all preparations are in place. Top police officials today visiting the prison to supervise the security arrangement. Section 144 of the Criminal Procedure Code prohibiting assembly of 5 or more people imposed in the area around the prison. According to the jail manual, Memon will be woken up early in the morning, allowed to take a bath, offered some light refreshments. He will also be given religious books to read, recite prayers. Meanwhile, Memon's brother Suleiman and cousin Usman met with the convict on death row this evening. When journalists asked them questions, they refused to speak. Listen in.
Please, please, I have a full faith in judiciary. I have a full faith in Almighty. Please, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone.
Okay, I just want to go for a moment to Amrita Shedge, our correspondent who is joining me from Nagpur. Amrita, can you tell us the very latest? Because we do not know at the moment when the president will finally give his assent to what the Home Ministry has asked him and decide that Yakub Memon's plea for mercy plea is rejected or accepted. So what is happening in Nagpur at the moment in terms of the arrangements there at the jail?
Rajdeep, in Nagpur, all the preparations are made by the Nagpur police and also by the prison department. If we talk about the Nagpur Central Jail, then all the preparations for the execution of Yakub Memon have been done by the prison department. Now also Article 144 have been imposed for that. Even the media people are not allowed to enter into the premises of the jail. Till now, you know, from last 2 or 3 days we were inside the premises of the jail, but now they have asked us to stay away from the jail premises, and for that the limitation is given 500 meters. So that is the preparation they have done. Also QRT is on the spot. They have imposed a high-level security in entire city, including the sensitive areas like airport. RSS headquarters is there in Nagpur. There also they have beefed up the security, and now also on the roads there's a lot of patrolling done by the Nagpur police. There are Naka-bandis at every corner of the road, so definitely police is not ready to take any risk. That is the same situation we can see in Mumbai also, because according to our sources what we are getting, that the family will take the body back to Mumbai, and that is a big task for Mumbai police also and for here in prison department, because what we are getting that the execution time is 7 AM in the morning. After that we will see a lot of happenings, and
Amrita, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there because we are getting news that we expect Rajnath Singh to emerge shortly from that meeting that he has had with the president, possibly brief the press. But the big question with my guests that I have been raising at the moment, let's look at whether the time has come now to step back from the politics. For the last week, we have had heightened politics over Yakub Memon. There has even been a religious divide that has been brought in. Has the time come now to end it all? Is it possible to end it all? My guests are still with me. Is it possible, you believe, Sambit Patra, to end the politics over Yakub Memon? Or is this going to remain an issue where both sides or different sides will take different positions depending upon their vote banks? Is Yakub Memon also part of vote bank politics, Sambit Patra?
It's a very sorry state of affair that some people had tried their best to, and in fact trying their best as of now as well, to make this a vote bank issue. I'm reminded of what Asauddin Owaisi said a few days ago, that because he's a Muslim, Yakub Memon is being hanged. And even today, even after the final verdict of the Supreme Court, Mr. Owaisi maintained his stand that he was disturbed with the kind of verdict that the Supreme Court had delivered. This only points to that politics has been playing right from the very beginning. It's not that it's a high time to step back. Why was the necessity to step into politics?
When the Dara Singh case took place, I'm sorry to remind you, in the Graham Staines case, the VHP made a huge issue of the fact that how can you give the death penalty to Dara Singh in the Graham Staines case? Your home minister today, who's meeting the president, came out openly in support of Sadhvi Pragya Thakur, even when the case was going on, the Malegaon blast case. Politicians have politicized terror. Let me be very clear. All of you, each and every one of you, all you political parties have politicized terror at some stage or the other. That is the unfortunate reality. Some play a Muslim vote bank, some play a Hindu vote bank. And that is the tragedy of this country.
There has been no Hindu vote bank play as far as the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned. As far as Pragya Thakur is concerned, she has not been handed any kind of sentence right now by the highest court of the country.
Yes.
So we should not politicize issue.
Even before her trial begins, she is pronounced innocent. Even before her trial begins, your Home Minister Rajnath Singh had pronounced her innocent. He was then the BJP president. Is that not playing politics with terror?
Not at all. Our terror charges proved there. If it would be proved, Bharatiya Janata Party would never play any kind of politics there. And secondly, as far as our president, then Mr. Rajnath Singh was concerned, he maintained firmly that law should take its course. No one pronounced anyone guilty or otherwise. We always maintained that law should take its own course. We are not like other political parties which...
you're saying law will take its own course. The fact is, let's be clear, there have been Shiv Sainiks who have been involved in the Mumbai riots of 1992-93, who were later made ministers in the government. I am sorry to say all this today, but it is time to call a spade in this country, because only then will we know where the reality lies. Kiran Bedi, you dipped your toes in politics, and I worry whether professional police officers, even in a case like the 93 blast case, sometimes are influenced by the political pressures that are put on them. Whether it was the Congress government then of Narasimha Rao, or today whether it's BJP governments of Narendra Modi, are decisions taken on the basis of politics.
Rajdeep, not by professional police officers. Officers who've got a spine and the courage and a sense of compassion and a sense of justice. You've got Mr. Sen sitting right with you. He's worked with the Lieutenant Governor as a special secretary. He's led a political life, public life, but you saw him as such a conviction cannot come without par excellence investigation. You've had 6 courts looking at this case. And I would say look at case by case. I think let's not generalize. Every investigation is unique. Every trial is unique. 2 judges don't agree with each other. This happened till yesterday.
Ma'am, I agree with you. I agree with you, ma'am, but you're seeing what is already happening in the... Ma'am, sorry to intervene. You're seeing what is happening in the Ajmer blast case. Because there are people involved now with the ruling establishment, witnesses are turning hostile. You've seen what's happening in the Malegaon blast case, where suddenly the prosecutor says she's under pressure and she's removed. My point is, Yakub Memon must get if Yakub Memon has to get the death penalty and he's a terrorist, what about the others?